Hi everybody. We are going to be cooking some steak fajitas today. So I'm going to show you how to make a really tender, very good skirt steak. And then we're also just going to chop up our veggies. So I'm doing this very simply. I've got some tri-color veggies. I've got red, yellow, orange pepper. I got 2 yellow onions, and I've got my bulb of garlic. And yes, I will be roasting that entire bulb. You want to set your oven to 350. Make sure you have a baking tray out because we're going to put all those veggies on this baking tray. We'll spice them up. Spices that you're going to want is onion powder, garlic powder, ground paprika, ground cumin, chili powder, salt, and then either olive oil or avocado oil. Olive oil's burn point is 350. My oven is set to 350, so I'm just going to use olive oil. If it was 375, I would use avocado oil. You can do either, just depends. But we're going to be chopping everything up, and we're going to be baking that on that tray for probably about 30 to 45 minutes, depending upon how tender or crispy you want your vegetables. If you want a little more bite, go more 30. If you want them to be a little bit more pliable, go for 45. So first things first, I do not take this out of the bulb. What you do when you roast garlic, I also don't use foil, but all you do is you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut just that top part off, exposing the garlic. Keep it in its paper, and that's it. Stick it on your baking tray. It's very easy. That way, when you are going to add garlic to it, all you have to do is peel it out. It tastes a lot better that way, I promise. If you don't have or don't use garlic and you have minced garlic in the fridge, just sprinkle that on top of all of your vegetables. I just prefer to go for the regular bulb. Next thing we're gonna do is cut up our peppers. We're gonna do our onions last because I'm probably gonna start crying, even with my contacts in. So peppers, proper way to cut a pepper, you're gonna cut off the butt. So your butt, right? Then you wanna find that green part. You wanna cut right on the green part. Now you're gonna look like this. You should be able to pop that right out. Try and get that extra white part out. Throw it in your trash can. And then all you need to do from here is a quick chop down. You'll be able to see where the rest of your pit is, and you can literally just cut it right out without any mess. And now you have your pepper. Cut that sucker in half. And then I'm gonna go for the longer strips, so I'm actually gonna leave them at this height. And what I like to do is I like to do all my peppers first. So I will cut the butts off of all of them. And again, you want to go as close to that green part as you can so it just kind of falls out. Oh, this one looks like it was growing a whole other pepper. So that way, again, you can just pop that stem right out of there with no issue. Now we are cutting, again, that pepper in half. You should be able to just slide your knife right along that white crevice, depending upon. That way you have less seed mess to deal with. And again, chop it down the middle because we're keeping these long. If you want them smaller, just cut that in half again. Then we got my orange pepper. As I realize now that I forgot to pick up green peppers at the store as well, that's fine. Use whatever peppers that you have. I just like to make things as colorful as I can. All right. So that one I really got on the money because that just kind of fell right out of there. And what it looks like is this. And again, I'm just going to cut right down those sides. So it makes it super easy to get that center out without any hardship, just ease. Cut it in half. All right. So we like to use the whole part of the pepper. So if you got one of these, you're just going to break it in half. It's very simple, very easy. You know where the half point is because it'll naturally break. And what you'll do from there is you'll just cut it into thinner strips that look like this. We'll add them to our baking tray. Sometimes with those ones, they will kind of be really flimsy toward where the stem was, and that's fine. Or maybe it cuts into two because it's not like a perfect rectangle, and that's also fine. If you want them thinner, please make them thinner. If you want them thicker, you can make them thicker. It's really up to you on how you want to cut these. And then when these go popped in the oven, we'll do our steak. But first things first is veggies. Once you get to these guys, just depending upon, I'll slice them whatever way that I feel like I want to slice them. Sometimes I'll move it around, sometimes I won't. Just kind of depends. Wish I could play music. But I feel like I'd be in for copyright infringement, so hence the silence. All right. So now from here, what I like to do personally is cut down this way. I find that it's much easier to cut down than to do one of these. But you can do it whatever way that you want to. Like I said, I just like a cut down. For me, it's easier to get them thinner. But if you feel like that's not for you and you feel like you're going to cut yourself, remember that you're not cutting this way. It's a down knife and in. Also, make sure your knives are sharp when you're cutting peppers, otherwise they will not break the skin, which is another issue. If you don't have a sharp knife, this way, with it sitting up, is going to be the easier way to cut it, because you can easily cut through this part versus trying to cut the skin and through the skin. So just really, again, it's going to depend on how sharp your knife is, how your knife skills are, all that jazz. Okay, whatever way. I'm doing them both ways so that way you can see both ways. You can see that my knife isn't as sharp as I would like it, so it's getting stuck in some places. That's okay. That just means a little bit more pressure. See? You can peel it off, but we do want to make sure that our knives are sharp. Otherwise, that is what's going to cause those kitchen injuries, those minor cuts that you get from using a knife. We want to make sure that we're safe in the kitchen. That one's a little thick. It's always the red ones where the skin, for some reason, is just tougher than the rest. And then you guys get to see me cry here in a few minutes. A way you can stop that is by waiting when you get to the onions to cut off the butt, which is this part right here. So here's the top. I normally do a slice. If you don't cut off that butt, you will not cry as much. Then I'm just going to put these on my baking sheet, get them ready to go in that oven. And everything should fit on one regular old baking sheet. My oven just finished preheating. So we got our onions, right? Again, I chop them a specific way just because for me it's easier to do, to get that skin off. So if you don't want to cry, leave that butt. You'll peel off that top layer of the onion that no one wants, that still has the skin. Otherwise, if you want to make it a little safer, you chop it like I did, peel off your skin. And I'll actually cut both of these at the same time into the trash. Always have my trash right next to me when you cook. Makes life a lot easier, especially when we're using all these fresh ingredients, which we love. Luckily, my nose is a little stuffed up today, so it should hit me. Not quite yet with this onion, hopefully, but we'll see. I'm also trying to breathe through my mouth, to be honest with you guys, so that I don't start crying on camera. But we'll see. we'll see how it goes. So now we've got our onions, and what I want to do is I do want to keep them larger. I want to keep them, I can't remember what it's called, like this. You want to keep them like this. Oh, I can smell it now. So what you're going to do is with the line of the onion, you're going to cut with that line. When you get to about the halfway point, you're going to flip it down and chop the other way. And I'm going to do this as fast as I can because, again, that onion will hit me here pretty soon, and I want to make sure that my vision is clear so that I can chop and not be able to see. I want to be able to see while I'm cutting. And you can do this as thin or as thick as you want to. It just depends on how crunchy you want that onion. And then we're just going to throw it right on our baking sheet. Ooh, this stuffy nose is really helping me out right now. Can definitely smell the onion, but it is not nearly as potent. With a stuffy nose, the contacts help a little bit, I will tell you that. But we'll see. Remember to always wash your hands. I'm actually slightly going to leave that on, just on a drip, because we're going to be dealing with raw meat. Now, because I only have 2 cutting boards and one of them happens to be in the dishwasher right now dirty, I am going to use this same cutting board for my meat, only because I'm done with the vegetables completely. So after that, it's going in my dishwasher. But for now, we're going to dress our onions, garlic, and pepper. So what you're going to do is with your olive oil, I like the Trader Joe's brand. I'm going to bring you guys over here. So we have our baking tray. On your garlic, you're just going to pour a nice glob into that. And then from there, we're just going to spread it. So we got a nice dousing, because this is where we're going to really bring those fajita veggies up. So we got our salt. And you don't have to add salt if you don't want to. I just need it for my health issues. I actually need to consume a higher salt diet. So it's really up to you if you want to add salt. These flavors alone are going to be fine. So I'm going to sprinkle on my onion powder, my garlic powder, paprika. You can do smoked paprika, you can do regular paprika, it doesn't matter. It's just red pepper. Throw on some chili powder. And you can see I'm kind of leaving the garlic alone. It doesn't need seasoning, it's garlic. All right, then we got our cumin. Which hates to come out of this, but you know, here we are. And really spice it up. Like, do not be afraid to use spices. It is never too much to use spices. Please, please, please use them. They are important. They will literally spice it up your life. And then I've got some tongs here that I am just going to make sure that these are nice and coated in that olive oil and in those spices. Especially our onion. You want to make sure that that is all good. And you can mix these together. They don't have to be separated because they're all going to go in our same container. And I'll show you guys what this looks like as well. The final product when I actually eat it, because it is 9 in the morning. So we're just kind of prepping this right now to eat later. All right. That is nice and set. And the nice part is we will use this later. So we're gonna stick this in the oven. I'm just gonna stick it right on my top rack. That way you can get nice and toasty and roasty. Got some spices on my countertop here. Wipe that off. Yes, I do wipe everything onto the floor because I am that person. Next thing you're gonna need is a big skillet, cast iron if you have it. Okay. And like I said, I'm leaving that running, that hot water running kind of at a drip back here, just because I'm going to need it when handling raw meat. So I'm going into my fridge. Now normally for steak, which I probably should have taken this out earlier, you do want steak to be cooked from room temperature, not from refrigerated. So as it started 15 minutes ago, I probably should have taken this out already, but I didn't because I forgot. I just have a skirt steak from Whole Foods. Actually gonna drink some water here before I open that up. And I'm going to throw a little bit of olive oil into my pan here. And skirt steak is actually a steak that's going to cook really, really fast. But the thing is you want the pan to be hot. And you only cook it depending upon, so if you're looking for like a medium rare, you want about 3 minutes per side. If you're looking for a medium, it's going to be about 4 to 5. But you don't want to go anywhere above a medium. Otherwise, it's going to make your steak really, really chewy and really, really like dense instead of like that nice piece of steak. So I've got my skirt steak here looking like this with that beautiful marbling. I think I showed it. There we go. So I'm going to turn on my stove to medium high, and I'm gonna let that just heat up in there. Make sure that my sleeves don't fall down, because again, we're handling raw meat. So with your skirt steak, you're gonna open it up. And then if you see visible fat that you don't want, you can just peel it right on off. That's what I'm doing with mine. You can also just leave it in there because fat is flavor. Now, because my pan is not as wide as this skirt steak, I am actually going to cut it. You can also cut off your fat with a knife. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just cutting off some of the like really visible fat pieces. It does come from the underbelly of a cow, so that is going to be a fattier piece, but it's very tender and very good. So I am just going to simply slice with the grain of the steak and cut that sucker right in half. Now I am doing this right on my countertop, but that's fine. So I cut this steak in half, so now it will be able to fit in my pan, right? Here's my beautiful marbled steak. It's gonna be able to fit in that pan for me, which I love for me. And I'm gonna leave that marbling fat in there because I can always cut that off after it's cooked. And that's fine. Again, fat's gonna give it a lot of flavor, so that's cool. We gotta wait quite a bit for this to heat up. I wanna see my olive oil kind of start to bubble up a little bit. I wanna start to hear it. I want to start to smell the flavors of the olive oil before I even set this in here. I'm just going to wash my hands because I got to grab a plate and a couple of other things just so that I'm ready and prepared for those quick flips. Now I'm still going to keep that running because I know that I am going to use it again, and I want to keep that water as hot as possible. Let's grab my plate here, my big blue plate. Big thing with steak as well is you want to allow it to rest to really set in all those flavors. I am just going to salt this. Because the flavors that I'm going to be getting are going to be coming from the vegetables. The steak is just going to be in and of itself steak. What I may do is add a little bit of garlic in there. And by that, I mean garlic powder. Just because you can never have too much. Never, ever have too much garlic. Again, just feeling to make sure that that's hot enough yet. It is not even close, which is fine because our steak is just resting right now and chilling out over here, getting slowly but surely to room temperature. It's gonna cook pretty quickly. And you do want to keep an eye on the time, which is why it's kind of nice. We put our veggies in, you know, about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes ago. So I'll let them cook up until 10 o'clock. So give it another 40. I'll probably check it again at like 9:50 and see, but at about that time, we'll also have our steak done. So we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. To like assemble your fajitas, I don't do cheese, so I don't have any, but you can either use flour tortillas. I personally love the Siete brand chickpea flour. These are your gluten-free friendly, dairy-free friendly peeps. These are amazing. Please make sure you heat them before you use them or they will fall apart, but it is fun because they squeak in your mouth a little bit. So that's something fun from that. But again, we're just kind of seeing, so my olive oil is definitely going throughout. And the reason that I have so much olive oil on there is because I'm also going to be using that as kind of a binder. So as I did this, you probably maybe saw some smoke pop up there because we're getting pretty warm in that pan. Yep. Like I said, it's gonna be pretty fast. So it's 9:21 now. I'm gonna stick in our first piece here. You can hear the sizzle. Wash my hands quick. Because again, we're dealing with raw meat. You gotta wash your hands after touching raw meat. Could I have used a fork? Absolutely. Am I going to? No. And again, I am leaving that on. And I'm just gonna let that sit until my clock says 9:25. You don't really wanna touch it too much. It is a thinner piece of steak, but as soon as it's browned, you're good. So now what I'm gonna do is on the side that hasn't touched anything yet, I'm gonna add in my salt. I'm gonna add a little garlic powder to the top. Now you can absolutely tenderize this beforehand if you want to. You can absolutely tenderize it. Again, I'm going to get a different set of tongs. The orange ones were for veggies. My green ones today are going to be for meat. You can already see and hear that sizzling. And again, you want this medium, high heat. We have another 2 minutes until we flip. We got to be very patient with steaks. You don't want to flip them too soon, but you don't want to flip them not too soon. If you're dealing with like a New York strip steak, that's where you're going to be putting that olive oil consistently over the steak, flipping it every single minute. This one is a little bit different. Again, we are chilling out. I'm just moving my olive oil around. Got another few minutes here before I flip it. And then we got to get to our other piece. Now, personally for me, I like a more medium steak versus a medium rare. That's why I'm cooking it for about 4 minutes on each side. If I feel like I want to cook it more, I'll start up my pan and I'll just sear it real quick before I actually eat it. Otherwise, I'm sticking with that medium rare. That way we're getting that nice cut. We're getting those good flavors in. We got another minute here, and then we're going to flip. I'm going to turn on my fan. So it's going to be loud. Cooking with Sami. I really should get my own cooking show, don't you think, guys? It's looking nice. You can already see the browning in the bottom of this pan. See my olive oil kind of, whoo, that just skirted right off there. Smells very good though. Like I said, you want your pan to be hot. And ideally, again, you want your steak at room temp. This is a little bit cold, so it might take a little longer to cook because it's got to warm up in that pan. But it's nice that I can see the browning already coming up on those sides. Is a very good sign that your meat is cooking. So it's 25. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip this right over. And we've got that beautiful steak. And I'm just going to let that sit again for about 4 minutes here. So 9:29. And more than likely, it's probably already browned, yep, on that other side. But we still need to actually cook the meat unless you're really liking it rare. Probably done for you then. For me personally, as a brand new meat eater, after like 12 years, I just don't like to see a lot of bleeding when I eat my meat. But that's a personal preference. So again, we are seeing that olive oil. We want to keep this juicy and tender. And then we are actually going to cut against the grain when we do this strip. Others, you want to cut with the grain. This, you're going to cut against. Again, if you cook skirt steak too long, it's going to be chewy and gross. Don't do it. What you'll do is you'll cook it medium rare, like I'm doing here, 3 to 4 minutes. I'm doing 4 minutes on each side. And then let it rest. I'll let this rest, obviously, while I cook that one. We'll cut into it. It should be a good medium rare. And then when you want to actually eat it, either you nuke it in the microwave, which I don't recommend, or you warm it up in your pan, which I do recommend. Like I said, I'm cooking this steak early. So, and it's still super tender. It's very bouncy when I poke my tongs into it. You can see some of the hemoglobin coming out. That red, not blood, just hemoglobin, but you know. Got 2 more minutes here on the side, give or take. And then we'll swap to that other piece of meat. I got my plate ready to go over here for it to just be able to rest. Moving it around a little bit, making sure that olive oil is getting all over the place. And I'm actually going to salt my meat over here on the one side. Again, give it a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, not onion powder, garlic powder. And now it's just kind of a waiting game. You know, you can check on your veggies if you want to, which are doing so good right now. It smells delicious in this apartment. We just wait another minute, and then it goes to rest. And you can also press this down too if you want more like sear marks. Like this is very, very juicy. Like I said, if I poke into it, you can still get that give back, which tells me that that juice is staying in that steak. It's not seeping out. It's not getting real chewy and dry and bleh. Always keep your fan on high, by the way. You don't want to actually inhale this. It's not good for you if you inhale the smoke and the steam, because as we cook things, it changes their chemical balance and chemical, like, it's a reactive thing, is what I'm trying to say. So with that reactivity, everything changes. And so the smoke that actually comes off this is not really good for you. That's why you want to keep that fan on so all that smoke is coming in. So it is now 29. Woo! See if I can get this without it popping at me everywhere. And I am just gonna let that steak, look at that beautiful searing, rest right on my plate. Then I'm gonna take my other piece of steak that I already put some salt on, stick that guy right in, wash my hands. Actually, before I wash my hands, I am going to get my steak wrap, stick it in the trash. Now I can wash my hands. While I let that steak sear, give it 29 at 9:33. I'm gonna flip it. So all in all, it takes about, 16 minutes, maybe, to cook these 2 steaks. And then we got some very easy cleanup. We just got knife and cutting boards that are going into my dishwasher. The nice thing about the steak is you let it rest. So you got time to do all the other kitchen things while that's doing its thing. I'm also going to add a little salt to the top. and a little garlic powder. And actually, I think that's the remainder of my garlic powder, so I'm gonna throw this away. But again, we're doing that quick cleanup here. That way we don't have to do it later. Since we've got time. This is the way to really work in the kitchen. Okay, I had where my meat touched. Spraying it with my antibacterial spray. Because I am also teaching you proper kitchen protocol, just in case you're a person that doesn't cook. And you're like, Sammy, what am I doing? I want to make sure that you're being safe and we're practicing safe handling practices when it comes to raw meats. But again, easy cleanup, especially since we still have 2 more minutes before I even got to flip this thing. Makes it much easier to do that cleanup. So all I have to do is wash my veggies and let the steaks rest. Very simple. We're getting a little hot here. I'm actually going to turn this down because I was on medium-high. So I'm going to turn it down to medium. Just because that's kind of a lot right now going on in my pan. You can see the steam coming off that pan right now in that steak. We got another about minute-ish on this side before I flip it, and I can already see again that browning coming through and up on the sides from my perspective. You guys can't really see it that much. You only see that red steak right in the center. I think I should make a theme song for this. That would be fun. Like I said, when this actually gets put all together, I will put a picture on our Facebook page. I believe I'm eating it tonight for dinner, maybe tomorrow. So I'll put it up there, and by tomorrow, this video will be out way after I actually post the picture. Just because I don't think it's out for a couple weeks. I'm just a little ahead, so I'm doing it now. Oh, all right, 33. And we are carefully flipping that steak over. Oh my gosh, look at that. That was gorgeous. And I'm just gonna wipe that around in my olive oil. Whew, we're getting steamy. It's sounding like a whole industrial kitchen up in here today. And we're gonna let that sit. Now this side popped up a bit for me, so I'm actually going to hold that in and sear it just for a bit so it can get. Ooh, we got everything popping up. I got oil going all over my phone. This is a little bit higher temp here. I did use olive oil. Maybe use some avocado oil instead because this is getting really well hot. And again, the smoke point for olive oil is only 350. So although it is a higher heat, it's not this high of a heat. So retrospect, use avocado oil for your steaks. It's also going to get even more good fats into your system, which we love, so do that. And then I flip that over at 33, it's now 34. I got 2 more minutes here. We'll let it rest, just like we're letting this guy rest right here. And then we're gonna cut it. And I will cut the one that's been resting for about 8 minutes. I'm not gonna cut this one. I'm gonna leave that one actually full until I need to cut it. And I'm actually going to cut this with a serrated knife, so a bread knife, with my little teeth. But now we wait. Play the Jeopardy song. Do, 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 do. Giving it just a little sear. But this is how you cook a skirt steak soaked up. Okay, I don't have a grill. Grill it if you can, but I don't have a grill, so here we are. And like I said, aim for a cast iron. aim for a cast iron. You do not want to use Teflon. Okay? If you have a non-stick cookware, no. Stainless steel, which by the way, if it's hot enough, stainless steel, because I know a lot of times people with stainless steel are like, oh, but everything's sticking and the bottom of the pan gets super gross. It just means that your stainless steel was not hot enough when you put the item in. So a way to do that and test that is to put a droplet of water into your stainless steel, and it should form a bubble that really quickly just kind of goes around. If it doesn't do that, your pan is not ready. And that's when you also want to wait to put the olive oil in as well. So that's kind of a trick with stainless steel. And it is 36. We got 1 minute. So again, 33, 34, 35, 36. So 37 is our 4-minute mark. We'll take this sucker out. Again, I can already see some of that hemoglobin. Give it another good sear again, just because this is a little bit more of an uneven piece. So I do want to make sure that it's getting cooked. Again, I did lower my heat because that oil is really, really squirting out and I don't want to burn my hands. But it's still on medium. It's a little under medium, actually. Again, I'm just going to kind of bring it around here. And then as soon as that hits 37, I'm turning off. You can see my smoke. I'm turning off my stove. And then I'll put it over here to let it rest. And then we're going to cut into this piece of steak in like maybe 30 seconds. Yep. So we're turning my stove off. I'm going to grab this piece of steak. You can see that beautiful char. And then this oil is still going to go. So what I'm doing is I'm going to move it to a safe spot that is away from all that. So because this, I don't want to use this anymore because it was in there with all the raw meats and stuff. So I'm going to put this in my dishwasher. I'm going to grab a fork. We're also going to move you. And you do want to keep this on. I'm just going to put it on speed 1 instead of speed 2. And we're just going to move you guys over here so you can see your steak that we've just made potentially together. Or if you're watching this, that I've made. It's been a while since I cooked steak before chefing it up. It's been a while since I've had to chef it up. So grabbing my fork. Again, I'm not going to do this piece. I'm going to let that piece rest, but this one's been resting here for about 8 minutes. So I am going to cut into it. And you can see where the grain is, especially on this side. So that grain is going down. Now, normally you want to cut with the grain, but I'm going to cut against the grain. Maybe not. Whew, this is a tough piece of meat. All right, maybe not a serrated knife. Maybe I lied. Maybe not a serrated knife. Normally people use steak knives. These are not my steak knives. However, we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to cut with the grain this time. Oof, and we got that nice medium rare steak here. And I'm just going to cut it into strips. Because again, these are for fajitas. So you can see I'm going to cut it with and against the grain. A lot of people say always cut with the grain. Some people say always cut against the grain. It really just depends on the type of meat that you're doing. This is what with the grain looks like. You're going to see all of that kind of marbling on the inside. And then against the grain is a little bit smaller. Personally, it's a little harder to cut through. It just kind of depends. But against the grain is going to look more like this. Cut your steak how you want to cut it. Some people are like, it's more tender if you do it this way. It's more chewy if you do it this way. It really just depends on the cook. It's an easier cut to go with the grain. than against it. I will tell you that much. Also, because this is a fattier piece of meat, you're gonna have some resistance when cutting it. Okay. And that's gonna just be from the fat. But we've got our nice strips of steak in there. I'm gonna just kind of leave that there, and I'll let the other two just rest. But that's how you make a skirt steak for fajitas. That is all for cooking with Sammy. Like I said, because it is so early in the morning, I'm not about to plate and eat this, but I will put a picture up. I probably already put a picture up. Just look for this video to see how to actually do it.